Hello, it's Amy Rothvale with the Jerusalem Connection Report Friday Red Alert for March 11. I want to tell you all that in 2 weeks, Amy Rothvale will no longer be issuing these reports. Indeed, my name shall change. I will be Amy Zawi. I'm getting married. The Reverend Jim Hutchins, PhD, our esteemed editor-in-chief and founder here at the Jerusalem Connection Report, will be officiating our blessed day. So Amy Zawi will be doing these reports after March 18th. On a more sour note, I want to take a moment to express my condolences to the Vanderbilt University graduate student who was killed on the streets of Tel Aviv rather, on Tuesday, March 8th. His wife was also severely injured in a stabbing attack. Israel suffered several attacks on Tuesday, March 8th around the country as Vice President Joe Biden was landing in Tel Aviv for meetings with Israeli officials to help quell the violence. It seems to me that Biden and Secretary of State Kerry need to rethink their strategy on who they need to speak to about this abhorrent violence, which is absolutely unacceptable, and the world seems to stand by and watch in silence. This hatred for the Jews and the Israeli people is not isolated to the streets of Israel and the frustrated Palestinians therein. Instead, it also bleeds into other elements of society, and in the Western Hemisphere, these are organized groups that engage in what we call BDS, or boycott, divest, and sanction activities. Recently, last month, I reported how Oberlin College in Ohio, a very expensive private institution who has many notable alums, have written an open letter to the university threatening to cut off endowments and contributions if they don't discontinue allowing these anti-Semitic and discriminatory activities from happening on campus. Since then, a non-tenured professor named Professor Correga has been posting extremely inflammatory posts on her social media sites, including Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. Her posts indicate that the 9/11 and Charlie Hebdo attacks were propagated by the Mossad and the CIA, that the Holocaust never existed, and many other incendiary anti-Israel, anti-Jewish postings. Now, the president of Oberlin College, Krislov, has indicated in a public statement that while he is the grandson of a Jewish rabbi and the descendant of Holocaust victims, and is personally offended and wounded by these statements, in the spirit of academic integrity and freedom of speech, he does not see how or he will discipline this professor at all. The Board of Trustees disagree, and they have posted an open letter on the Oberlin website demanding at the very least disciplinary action or dismissal of this professor who is posting these incendiary things, and also indicating that this Professor Correga, that the responses that she's getting are generated in what she called the anti-Semitism call-out culture, and that she's gathering up this as evidence for a book that she plans to write about the anti-Semitic call-out culture. So I'm not sure if this particular professor is posting these things out of a true hatred or posting these things in order to get her name in the press and fuel and material for her upcoming book. Needless to say, she does have the right in America to post what she wants about the topic of Israel or Jewish people or the Palestinian issue on her websites. However, that does not give her a right to hold a position and receive a paycheck from an institution who has hired her to be the rhetoric and composition teacher. I have taught rhetoric and composition at the college level for many years. Our job is to teach students to reason through a thesis. That is, find evidence, reasonable, verifiable, credible evidence to support a point or a thesis, and to build that argument with logic. I have failed students doing this who have had theses I agreed with, but failed to do this in a logical way using credible evidence. I've also given excellent marks to students who had a thesis I disagreed with, but who used logic and sound evidence to prove that thesis reasonably. Now, this professor has demonstrated through her public posts that, in my opinion, she is unable to teach these principles to students. Students paying over $60,000 a year for room, board, and tuition to attend this university do not need an incompetent professor at the head of their classroom. Moreover, one that's filled with any contempt for any segment of society. Regardless of her personal opinions, she's demonstrated that she has faltered in this ability to uphold these principles of education. If a science professor said the atomic number for carbon was 8 and not 6, math professor said 2 plus 2 was 5, not only would this professor be dismissed from his or her charge to teach students, it's possible the degree-granting institution would revoke their degree because these things are purely flying in the face of evidence that we know as true. Therefore, President Krislov of Oberlin's argument that he cannot discipline or dismiss this professor because of her freedom of speech is, in my opinion, invalid. She has a right to say and post whatever she wants, but she doesn't have a right to the position of educator and the paycheck that comes with it by students and their families who are trying to learn and become contributing members of society. It is Krislov's duty to both the alum and the current students and the endowment processes that the school takes on to foster a community of critical thinking, logic, sound logic, and truth-seeking, as every discipline in the school, every major program does to educate students. So when you're out in the community and you're discussing these sorts of things and people say, oh, well, so-and-so has the right to say whatever they want, the answer is, of course. And we as citizens have the right to disagree with it, and we certainly have the right to patronize or not patronize or remove people from positions that will demonstrate that their opinions make them ineffective for that position that they have. Certainly at a private institution, that would be the case. Shavua Tov. Have a great week. Shabbat Shalom.